Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome back once again to our ongoing series on the glories of our most beloved Sri Vrindavan Dham. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pashtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastracha Deshatarane. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So before we begin, today I'd like to recite a very beautiful verse I came across in my studies. It's from the Brihad Gautamiya Tantra. And I found that it's been quoted in several places by Srila Jiva Goswami, including in his Krishna Sandarbha 106 and his Gopal Champu 1.1. Krishna speaking. Verily, this delightful Vrindavan is my only home. My animals, both tame and wild, the birds and insects, the men and gods who abide here, all go to my home when they die. Those cowherd girls who live here in my abode are all eternally joined with me, for they are dedicated to my service. This forest of mine, measuring 5 yojanas, is a form of my body. This Yamuna river is the Shushutna channel carrying nectar. The gods and other creatures dwell here in subtle forms. I am the sum of all the gods, and at no time do I leave this forest. I am manifest and unmanifest here in these woods in every age. It is beautiful and powerful, this abode, and cannot be perceived by the eyes of flesh. Isn't that wonderful? I never heard that one before. So we are continuing with our mini-series on Stimulation for Ecstatic Love, and this will be part 74. You have to excuse me today, I have a little bit of a cold, but we will continue. I would like to continue with our presentation of different Vaishnav poets, and today we shall speak about Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami. You may remember we did speak a little bit about him about 2 years ago, I believe, but since then I found a treasure trove of information about this illustrious devotee. The contribution of the 6 Goswamis, who, as we know, are very close associates of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to the rejuvenation of Vrindavan is well known, but there are many other devotees, scholars and saints who also played important roles in reconstructing the lost Braj and its culture. And Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami is one amongst those, you could say, lesser known personalities. But as you'll see, he too was a close confidant in working with the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. This Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami was born sometime in the late 1500s. He's mentioned in the Vaishnav Shastra called Bhakta Mal by the author Nabadas, which was actually recommended by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur as an authorized source of Vaishnav biographies. He approved of it, Bhakta Mal. I found out that it was actually recommended as one of the books to study in Gaudiya Math for biographies of previous acharyas. Now there's another Bhaktamal written in Bengali by one Lal Das, but that book was rejected by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur as a Sahaja book. So Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami is in the Bhaktamal edition of Nabadas. And therein, Nabadas describes the wonderful qualities of Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami. He writes, Gadadhar Bhatta possessed a cluster of praiseworthy qualities, liked by one and all. Gentle and generous, he took his orders from those who were realized beings. Having no ill feelings or worldly desires, he was the very abode of compassion. His devotion was unswerving. thus showing the path to other devotees. This made him well known in Vrindavan as a bridge to the ultimate good. The nectar of Bhagavat Katha showered from his mouth and was relished by one and all. Most significantly, now, Gadadhar Bhatt Goswami was a disciple of Srila Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, one of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. Raghunath Bhatt Goswami was especially famous, as we discussed some years ago, for his lectures on Srimad Bhagavatam, and Gadadhar Bhatt Goswami carried on that tradition after the departure of Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. Now, historically, Gadadhar Bhatt Goswami came from a family of Brahmins from South India. Specifically, they lived in Andhra Pradesh. And while growing up there, he somehow or other became very attached to Sri Vrindavan Dham. He's in Andhra Pradesh. He got really attached to Vrindavan Dham and all that it entails. Some scholars say that perhaps he became attached to Braj because in those days, Vaishnav saints and sages were traveling around India to propagate the holy name and the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Anyway, somehow he achieved a great love for Sri Vrindavan Dham and was writing beautiful poetry about Braj. In fact, by the time he was a young man, he was famous for his Krishna-conscious poetry, much of which, or perhaps all of it, was interestingly enough written in the Braj Bhasa language, which is particular just to Vrindavan, Braj Bhasa language. In Andhra Pradesh, he's writing Braj Bhasa language. Now, how he eventually came to Vrindavan from South India is especially interesting. After Govindaji's temple was completed in Vrindavan, Srila Jiva Goswami would go and take darshan of Radha Govinda each morning. He was at that time the leading acharya for Gaudiya Vaishnavism because Rupa and Sanatana Goswamis had passed away. Now, after darshan, Jiva Goswami, it's written, he would, after darshan of Govindaji, Jiva Goswami would visit Radha Gopinath's Mangalartik and then Madan Mohan's Mangalartik. He'd go to 3 Mangalartiks every day. And it's interesting, these 3 Mangalartiks were scheduled at different times to enable devotees to attend all 3. And there's a tradition, many of you know, that says that by seeing all these 3 deities, Govinda, Gopinath, and Madan Mohan, in one day, all of one's sins are destroyed. So this tradition of visiting 3 deities in a day actually came from Srila Jiva Goswami. And even today, devotees still observe this tradition. By driving from Vrindavan to Karoli to see Madan Mohan, that's where he is now, and on to Jaipur to see Govindaji and Gopinath. I've done that myself a couple of times. Anyway, one day, after taking darshan of Govindaji, Jiva Goswami was walking down the stairs of the temple on the way to see Gopinath when he observed a saintly person sitting at the bottom of the stairs. And this saintly person was singing a very beautiful Braj Bhasa song known as Sakhi Hon Sham Rang Rangi. Sakhi Hon Sham Rang Rangi, very famous. Meaning, O beloved Sakhi, I have been transformed by the color of Sham, Krishna. Actually, I'll recite the whole song. It goes like this. O Sakhi, I have been transformed by the colors of Sham. On seeing his beautiful form, I sold my soul to him. I lost myself in his beauty. When I fall asleep, I lose myself in dreams of him, and when I awake, I don't see anything as separate from him. It is as though my eyes have been trapped by his form, like a bumblebee trapped at night in a lotus flower. When I hear that he has gone to graze the cows, I don't know which Kanai, Krishna, people are talking about, for he is with me always. Who will listen to me? Who will believe me when I say it's all nonsense? How can Gadadhar explain any of this? I'm like a dumb person trying to explain the taste of gur. Gur's a sweet. So Jiva Goswami, he heard the sadhu singing this song, this poem, and he was stunned. Especially because it was in Brajbha's poetry, and he hadn't heard it before. So he asked the saint, "Sir, who wrote this? Did you write this beautiful poetry?" And the saint replied, "No, I was coming from South India to Vrindavan when along the way I met a personality known as Gadadhar Bhatt Goswami. He's a very nice devotee of Krishna. It is he who composed these beautiful verses." So Jiva Goswami said, "But if he lives in South India, how can he write such beautiful poetry without even coming to Vrindavan Dham, the place where one appreciates the color of Krishna? Worship of the Lord in South India is in the mood of awe and reverence, Aishvarya Bhav, where the glories of Sri Radha are not sung." Where the glories of Sri Radha are not sung. I am very interested to know this exalted devotee, Gadadhar Bhatt Goswami. Do you know anyone who can deliver a letter to him and bring him here to Sri Vrindavan Dham? So the saintly person said, "Yes, I have 2 Brahmin friends who can render this service. They can deliver your letter to Gadadhar Bhatt Goswami in South India." So the next day, Srila Jiva Goswami gave a letter to that saintly person. Now it's interesting. In the letter, Jiva Goswami quoted the first verse from Raghunath Das Goswami's book, Svashankalpa Prakasha Stotra. And that verse read as follows: "Without worshipping the pollen of Sri Radha's lotus feet, without taking shelter of Vrindavan, which bears her footprints, and without respectfully greeting the great souls whose hearts are filled with deep love for her, how will one be able to plunge into the nectar ocean of love for Lord Krishna?" How will one be able to plunge into the nectar ocean of love for Lord Krishna? Now our Vaishnava acharyas have commented that Srila Jiva Goswami was writing to Gadadhar Bhatta as follows. They say, paraphrase, "I don't know how you got this mood, Gadadhar Bhatt Goswami, when you were living outside of Braj and have no association with the servants of Radha. It is no doubt the result of some previous lifetime of service to great devotees. But in order to perfect it, you must follow in the mood of Sri Radha and live in the association of her devotees here in Vrindavan. Otherwise, you will never attain its fulfillment." Hare Krishna. The scholars, they paraphrase like that, what Jiva was saying. So, that saintly person gave that letter, imagine getting a letter from Jiva Goswami, to his 2 Brahmin friends, who then made the long journey from Vrindavan to Andhra Pradesh. And while searching far and wide for Gadadhar Bhatt Goswami, one day they came across a sadhu taking bath from a well. And they asked him, "Sir, we are looking for a person named Gadadhar Bhatt Goswami. Do you know of him or where he lives?" So the sadhu replied, "Yes, I know him, but please tell me first where you are from." Where you are from, like that. So the 2 Brahmins answered, "Oh, we are from Vrindavan." And upon hearing the word Vrindavan, that sadhu immediately fell down unconscious on the ground in ecstasy. This immediately attracted a crowd of local villagers who then explained to the two brahmanas that the sadhu who had fainted was in fact Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami himself. They said, he is Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami, and because he is a pure devotee of Krishna, upon hearing the name Vrindavan, he fell unconscious in ecstasy, as he often does. So when Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami regained consciousness, the two Brahmins said to him, we have come to take you to Vrindavan on the order of Jiva Goswami. So upon hearing this, it's described, Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami started laughing and just dancing in ecstasy. And without even finishing his bath, he immediately began running towards Sri Vrindavan Dham. In fact, I was reading, some accounts say he ran all the way from Andhra Pradesh to Vrindavan. And when he finally arrived in Braj, I think about 2 months later, he first went to Govindaji's temple, where Raghunath Bhatta Goswami was lecturing on Srimad Bhagavatam, as he did often. And upon hearing the nectarian words of Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami again fainted in ecstasy. Now, seeing this, the devotees present at the lecture sent a message to Jiva Goswami, who came to the temple to see who was this visiting sadhu who fainted in ecstasy hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam. And when Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami came back to external consciousness, Jiva Goswami asked him who he was. And when Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami revealed his identity, Jiva Goswami was very happy and he embraced him. And he asked, my dear Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami, tell me, how can you write such beautiful poetry about Vrindavan without having taken shelter of Sri Radhika, and without the association of Rasic devotees who live here in Vrindavan? So Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami said, O Jiva Goswami, I am lower than a blade of grass. Please give me your shelter so I can truly understand and experience what I'm writing about. So Jiva Goswami replied, very well, but I'm very busy with my seva, so you please take shelter of Srila Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. He does not have any disciples yet, so when he deems you fit, you may take Diksha, initiation from him. Then Jiva Goswami said to Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, who had just finished his discourse on Srimad Bhagavatam, he said to him, this Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami is a high-class Brahmin and a devotee of Krishna from South India. Please accept him as your disciple. So therein, Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami started learning Srimad Bhagavatam from Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. Actually, I was reading the other day also that when Raghunath Bhatta Goswami would give his discourses on Srimad Bhagavatam, he would give them in 3 places every day, in Govindaji temple, in Gopinath temple, and Madan Mohan temple. So when he would give those discourses, every day Rupa and Sanatana Goswamis would sit and listen from him. You could say that Raghunath Bhatta Goswami's, Ishta Dev, his worshipable deity, was Srimad Bhagavatam, non-different than the Lord. So after 1 year's time, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami gave him Diksha initiation. And Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami was actually the only disciple of Srila Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. And sometime much later, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami gave the Srimad Bhagavatam that was given to him by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami. Now you can understand what an important devotee is within our line. And when Raghunath Bhatt Goswami departed this world, Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami continued giving the daily lectures on Srimad Bhagavatam as his spiritual master did in the Govinda, Gopinath, and Madan Mohan temples. I believe he also sometimes spoke in Radharaman temple in Braj. Now on top of this, it's just going deeper here, so much nectar. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki. On top of this, his relationship with Jiva Goswami continued deepening day by day. We know this about Gadadhar Bhatt Goswami. It's for certain because he was one of the signatories on Srila Jiva Goswami's last will and testament in the year 1608. Now, due to invalidity, Jiva Goswami was unable to actually write his last will and testament on his deathbed. So it's known that he dictated it and asked his most close and confidential associates to sign it, to make it authentic. So in that will, or on that will, which is still preserved in the Vrindavan Research Institute in Vrindavan, I saw it, we see the signature of Gadadhar Bhatt Goswami, which, how could you say, demonstrates the close and trusting relationship between Jiva Goswami and Gadadhar Bhatt Goswami. Hare Krishna. So one time, on the occasion of Vashanta Panchami, which is the beginning of spring, the first day of spring, Gadadhar Bhatt Goswami was sitting on the banks of the Jamuna, chanting a very beautiful Yamuna Ashtakam that he composed. And suddenly, tears came from his eyes, which mixed in with the mud of the Jamuna. And looking down, Gadadhar Bhatt Goswami saw the top knot of a deity of Krishna protruding from that spot. And immediately began digging, and several minutes later, pulled out a small black stone deity of Krishna. I mentioned he had a deity, whom he later named Madan Mohan. And when Jiva Goswami was informed of Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami's find, he said, "It is Madan Mohan's mercy upon him, Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami, that he can continue his worship, which was interrupted for a very long time." Interesting. And this deity is still being worshipped actually in Vrindavan. I've had his darshan. Now, while Gadadhar Bhatt Goswami was residing and lecturing in Vrindavan, the king of Bharatpur is not far from Vrindavan, the king of Bharatpur would come regularly to Govindaji's temple to hear his katha. And in time, this king started developing a spirit of renunciation and was even thinking of giving up his kingdom and just becoming a renounced sadhu in Vrindavan. And when his wife, the queen, saw this gradual transformation in her husband, she became very worried, very anxious, to the point that she came up with a plan to stop her husband's newfound spirit of renunciation. So one day, she called her pregnant maid, she had a maid who was pregnant, and offered her a huge sum of money to go to the Srimad Bhagavatam lecture of Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami that day, and in front of the audience announce that Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami was the father of the child in her womb. So, in the middle of Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami's discourse that day, she stood up crying, and called out, "Oh, Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami, you are becoming a famous devotee, but you have not told your disciples and the people in general that you made me pregnant 8 months ago." She said like that in the public, amongst all the people who were at the lecture. So needless to say, everyone was shocked. So Gadadhar Bhatt Goswami, he was very calm, collected. He spoke up saying, "My dear lady, of course this is not true. Perhaps you have done this only because you are in a desperate condition of life. As such, I pity you and I'm concerned about you." Now, hearing these compassionate words of Gadadhar Bhatt Goswami, this maidservant of the queen, she relented, because the words of a pure devotee are very powerful. They have effect on our hearts, as we know from hearing from Srila Prabhupada. So she relented, and with tears in her eyes, related to that public assembly that her accusation was false and that the queen of Bharatpur had offered her money to do it. So hearing all this, the king of Bharatpur, who was in attendance, rose up threatening to kill his wife, the queen. But Gadadhar Bhatt Goswami intervened. He said, "But do not do this. This is all because your wife is so attached to you. You should know that your duty is not to renounce her or your kingdom, but to protect her and rule your kingdom as Raj Rishi, a saintly person sitting on the throne. Better you stay in your palace at Bharatpur, and I will send my students daily to lecture on the Srimad Bhagavatam for you and your good wife there." Hare Krishna. And then, demonstrating his deep humility, Gadadhar Bhatt Goswami, he said to the audience, "By giving these lectures on Srimad Bhagavatam, I have become famous, and my influence has increased. But this influence is like a witch that has cursed me. There is danger that my fame will become an obstacle to my bhajan. So this woman has done me a great service by proclaiming this malicious rumor, which will help to keep me humble and keep people away from me." Hare Krishna. Such humility. Let's see. Oh yes, there's another interesting pastime of Gadadhar Bhatt Goswami, that one night a thief came to Vrindavan for the purpose of stealing from the local people. Now it's mentioned that Gadadhar Bhatt Goswami's door was never locked. And so when this thief came to his bhajan kutir, he easily entered. And although it was late at night, very late at night, Gadadhar Bhatt Goswami was awake and chanting japa. And when he saw that a thief had come into his house, he lay down and he pretended to sleep while keeping an eye open and observing the thief's activity. But in reality, it's written, he became absorbed in thinking of child Krishna going into the gopis' houses and stealing butter. So rather than getting angry, he thought, my Thakur has come to my house to play his Leela of stealing. See how Krishna conscious he was. My Thakur, he's just thinking in a deeply Krishna conscious way. My Thakur has come to my house to play his Leela of stealing. So in the meantime, the thief had collected a number of items from the kutir and tied them with a sheet into a big bundle. But there was so much stuff that actually he was having difficulty getting the bundle onto his head to carry it away. So Gadadhar Bhatt Goswami got up and very quietly helped him to lift the bundle onto his head. And as he was doing so, the thief was astonished. He asked Gadadhar Bhatt Goswami, who are you? And Gadadhar Bhatt Goswami identified himself, and when the thief learned whose house, or actually kutir, he was robbing, he fell to the ground, held onto the feet of Gadadhar Bhatt Goswami, and begged for forgiveness. So Gadadhar Bhatt Goswami said, don't worry, this is how you make your living. Take the bundle with you. I'm not concerned for myself, for Krishna will send me 10 times this much tomorrow. So this thief was so impressed by Gadadhar Bhatta's kindness that he actually gave up his profession of thievery and later on became Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami's disciple. The power of these pure devotees. Now, when one of the thief's friends heard about this particular incident, he chastised his friend, the original thief. He said, "How could you have been so stupid? You gave all those items back to that sadhu, I heard. And to make matters worse, you became his disciple. I will show you what should have been done. I'll show you what you should have done." So the next night, that friend went to Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami's home, and after sneaking in, very quickly filled a sack with valuable items, and he left. But when he got onto the street, he suddenly became very bewildered. And it's described he didn't know whether to go left or right. In fact, he just spent the whole night wandering around the village until he found himself back at the home of Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami the following morning. So when Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami came out of his home to take his morning bath in the Jamuna River, the thief fell at his feet, held onto his feet, held onto Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami's feet like his friend had done, and he also begged for forgiveness. He said to Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami, "I did not know your power. I am a thief, and I came here to steal from you. It's as if I've gone blind and cannot find my way back home. So please be merciful to me and give me the vision how to go back to our real home, Glories of Vrindavan in the spiritual world." So at that point, Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami raised his hands and blessed him. Let it be. So kind are these sadhus. So in this way, even those who came to him for some material benefit were blessed with spiritual insight. Hare Krishna. So these are just some of the glories of Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami. I just love to say his name now. The illustrious disciple of Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. I think the following verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 14th chapter, verse 24, nicely summarizes the life and teachings of this wonderful devotee. In this verse, Krishna is speaking. A devotee whose speech is sometimes choked up, whose heart melts, who cries continually and sometimes laughs, who feels ashamed and cries out loudly and then dances. A devotee thus fixed in loving service to me purifies the entire universe. So I would like to finish today with a very famous poem by Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami entitled Yogapith Varnan or Dhyan Leela. It's known in two ways. Yogapith Varnan or Dhyan Leela. You ask any scholar in Vrindavan, they know this poem describing Krishna or Gopinath's particular pastimes in Vrindavan. Now this poem by Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami is very, very long. So today we'll just recite a few selected verses from it, and perhaps we can include it in its entirety in the upcoming printed books in our Vrindavan lecture series, of which we've printed one already, or two actually, The Glories of Govardhan Hill and The Sacred Forest of Vrindavan. And more books will come. So here's a few selected verses. It was hard which ones to choose because there's so many. It's like it takes a half hour to read it, but I chose a few for your pleasure. He writes, I bow my head at the pastime place of Sri Govinda. Taking shelter of his lotus feet, I attain some of the beauty of this forest of Sri Vrindavan. Here where the Kalindi river flows, with clear blue water, the supreme truth, knowable only through Vedanta, manifests in such a form. Here dwells the beauty of the lotus forest, resplendent with red, yellow, white, and black colors, where swarms of intoxicated bees wander, engrossed in tasting the sweetness of honey. Here one hears the calls of innumerable types of birds, such as cranes, swans, cuckoos, and chakravata birds. One's intellect fails to count them all. The sacred and wondrous banks of the river Jamuna, adorned with various brilliant gems and pearls, puts to shame the light of the moon in the night sky. Here, one finds the pollen of camphor. There, heaps of saffron. Somewhere else, a spotless, pure crystal rock, like a stainless moon. A crystal rock like a stainless moon. This is a beautiful description of the Yoga Pith, depicting the sacred atmosphere and natural beauty of Sri Vrindavan. It also hints at the presence of Sri Govinda. Countless groups of young gopis reside here. Rati, Rama, Uma, and other celestial women are no match for them. Colorful garments adorn their bodies like a rainbow. Along with tilak and necklaces, their beautiful appearances are enhanced by the application of coryllium. There is also Govindaji, the handsome young prince, adorned with beautiful ornaments. His unparalleled beauty is praised by the damsels of Gandharvaloka. His dark complexioned body is adorned with a yellow garment. A peacock feather crown decorates his forehead, along with curly locks of hair. His eyes are like beautiful lotuses, and his playful and charming glances are like the arrows of Cupid. The sweetness of his lips surpasses the redness of the banduk flower. The excellence of his coral-like chin is unmatched. His teeth are like a string of pearls, pomegranate seeds, and jasmine buds. The beauty of his conch-like neck, adorned with a necklace, is indescribable. His arms are like the trunks of elephants, adorned with bracelets. He wears a diamond-studded bracelet adorned with countless gems on his body. On his right breast is the Srivatsa mark. On his left breast is the line of fortune, Lakshmi. In the middle of his chest, the brilliance of his necklace astonishes one's mind. He who is known as Murlidhar holds a flute to his excellent lips. The nectar of its sound rains down, captivating the consciousness and intellect of all. On his left side resides the embodiment of all good fortune, Sri Radha, the jewel amongst all women. In her heart, ever new love and passion reside for her beloved. Her moon-like face and charming forehead are most beautiful. Her eyes, like silent arrows, are sharp as the bow of Cupid. The musk tilak on her forehead and her earrings swaying to and fro are amazing to behold. Her curly locks of hair, like the roots of a vine, are beautifully adorned with great gems. For those whose minds are absorbed in the essence of this nectar of meditation and bliss, worldly sorrows will not affect them. This is Vrindavan, the place of the Lord's pastimes, the abode of Govinda. There, Sri Gadadhar prays for pure, unalloyed devotional service. Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami ki. Oh, once again, isn't it? The poetry of these devotees. It warms the hearts of us aspiring devotees. We are eternally indebted to him. So all glories to Srila Gadadhar Bhatta Goswami, all glories to Srila Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, all glories to Srila Jiva Goswami, all the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, all glories to Gaurnitai Panchatattva. And all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhus. Shri Shri Gaurnitai ki, Shri Krishna Balaram ki, Shri Shri Radhashama Sundar ki, Vrindavaneshwari Shrimati Radharani ki, Mayapur Dham ki, Gaurnitai ki, Shri Krishna Sankirtan Yagya ki, Nitai Gaur Pimanandi, Jai Jai Sri Sri Radhe Shyam. Hare Krishna. See you next Friday.